Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, fans, last night, it's a 162-game season, so we're not going to overreact to any one particular game. But point blank, hey, last night, it just was not pretty. The pitching was not pretty. There were hit batsmen all over the place. Offense was a little bit better. It was kind of the exact opposite of the type of offense the Dodgers have been playing lately. We've talked about the Dodgers in a 162-game season, you're not always going to be on the top of your game offensively. So this is one of those periods of the season where the Dodgers aren't playing the best offense that they're totally capable of playing. So it's just one of those deals, but it is what it is. So, but whenever you look at that, whenever you're the Dodgers, you're going to win the NL West. You're going to win probably 100 games, probably more than that, to be honest with you. When you look at games like this, you don't look at it like, oh man, this is one game and get upset about that or anything. You look at the big picture and you look at it and you go, okay, well, are the things that cost us today, last night's game, I should say, are those the types of things, are they parts of our team that are long-lasting and have long-lasting effects to the overall goals of this team? Well, what are the overall goals? Win the NL West. So, no, the Dodgers are going to win the NL West. I think we all agree with that. Even, James Paxton is going to help with that. He did not pitch very well last night. I was very, watching his post-game interview, very impressed with him. I thought he was very candid about the things that he did well, the things he didn't. Quite honestly, most of the time whenever you're talking about post-game interviews, I don't really even watch them because they're just a waste of time. I mean, you have no offense to anybody who asks those questions, but talking to multiple athletes, I mean, most of the questions are absolutely, completely, and totally annoying. They don't want to answer them, and it's like the same question over and over and over, asked in a different way, and it's over things that they probably already addressed like 7 million times in their life. So to be quite honest with you, I would say almost all post-game interviews with players, most of the time with managers too, are a complete waste of time just because you don't get anything out of it. You get the canned response. You get the players kind of go into their default mode, if you will. But I will say the James Paxton interview last night was insightful. I thought he was good. I thought he answered all the questions, and he explained what went right and what went wrong. And as a fan and somebody who analyzes baseball all the time, that made me feel better about it because I feel like James Paxton understood what he needs to do moving forward to help this team. So long-lasting effects, what are some of the things that might have long-lasting effects? James Paxton is not one of them. I've mentioned several different times. I think probably at the very most, he is depth in your bullpen for the playoffs. And again, I relate everything to the playoffs because that's what you're working for. You're working to win a World Series. As we talk on a Saturday afternoon on Memorial Day, I know it's going to be a little bit tough to get a crowd today. That's okay because I have a great down on the farm. There was some great action in the minor league system last night. So make sure and stay tuned. After we have this great conversation about Dodgers baseball, we're going to have a really, really nice, I thoroughly enjoyed putting together this down the farm segment. We're going to talk about James Outman, the crazy game in AAA Oklahoma City. We're going to talk about Landon Knack. We're going to talk about Alex Freeland and the incredible start he's getting up to. He's gotten off to. We're going to talk about Justin Wrobleski. If you've been following Dodgers Daily at all, we've been telling you for a long time to buy stock in the lefty Justin Wrobleski. Definitely do that. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Chris Newel and how he leads the Midwest League in home runs. We're also going to talk about Bubba Alleyne. Then we're going to talk about Kenny George, and we're going to go down on the farm and talk about the sweet swinging Jesus Calise. So we have all that coming up on our Down the Farm, and that's going to come up after we talk about our beloved Dodgers. So long-lasting effects, don't just analyze last night's game because you say, hey, it's a marathon. Can't overreact to one game. But what you do is you evaluate it from a long-term perspective, big picture perspective. I don't worry about the James Paxton deal other than he didn't give enough length. All James Paxton needs to do is eat up innings. He needs to win enough games to continue to allow the Dodgers to win 100 games this year and win the NL West. Literally, that's all he needs to provide this Dodgers team, correct? So long-lasting effects. I will say, when you look, hey, the offense is struggling. Yeah, it's 162. You're not always going to play great offense. Fine. But the bottom of the lineup has struggled all year long. And if the Dodgers, and the bench too, and if the Dodgers are going to win a World Series, they have to figure out the bottom of the lineup. They've already sent James Outman down. Andy Pages is going through what we told you he was going to go through. We said, first of all, hey, this is a guy that runs hot and cold. He just is. I mean, he's a guy that when he gets hot, he carries teams for long periods of time, right? But whenever he's not, he runs hot and cold as well, right? He's going to go through cold streaks. He's doing that. So not only is he having his hot and cold streaks that you're seeing, not only that, but he's also hitting a rookie wall too. I mean, that adjustability period, he's not hitting the fastball. Other teams are seeing that. Now that you have enough statistical analysis, other teams are seeing at a major league level, what is he not doing very well? And major league pitchers are good enough to execute and hit those holes. So we're seeing that cat and mouse game with Andy Pages. James Outman's already down. Jason Hayward on the year hitting 207. Kike Hernandez, he's not hit the ball all that great. He's had some big hits and that kind of thing, but not hitting the ball all that well as well. So to be honest with you, at this point, the Dodgers, in my opinion, look like they're on a crash course to fix the bottom of their lineup via trade. Now, I'm not real good with, so if you're asking me who are the trade pieces at this moment, we're going to cover all that on Wednesday night's show. Austin's been very busy as of late. He's had some family issues he's had to deal with in terms of his uncle and all that. So we obviously pray for Austin. We wish him nothing but the best. I told him, hey, use Dodgers Daily for whatever therapy you can do. So we're going to get Austin back on Wednesday. He's going to have a lot more availability this week. And we're going to cover Wednesday because I do think the Dodgers are on a crash course of, at least in part, at some level, fixing the bottom of their lineup via a trade piece. So who are those trade pieces? Stay tuned. Make sure and tune in. Throughout the week, we'll be talking a little bit more about that. Yeah, Bueller, our bullpen was crushed last night. Yeah, the bullpen has been very good. Is that a long-lasting piece? I don't think so. I think pitchers coming back. I think the depth is getting ready to add to it. I think that's one of those where you go 162, it's one game, move on. I think the bullpen last night was in that category. I think the bottom of the lineup, though, is a long-lasting deal. I don't think you can look at the bottom of the lineup and go, it's one game out of 162. It's bad. I don't think you can look at it like that. I think you have to look at the bottom of the lineup. I think you have enough evidence to look at the bottom of that lineup and say, we've got to fix this. We got to figure out something to get this fixed. Now, the question is that, hey, we wait on Jason Hayward to start playing better offense. Hey, we think Kike Hernandez is going to be that guy, or we're waiting on Chris Taylor to be better as far as that goes. Hey, Gavin Lux, he's been a lot better as of late. Matter of fact, Gavin Lux is hitting 286 in his last 7 games. He has hits in 3 games in a row and 6 of his last 7. And also, he's 5 for his last 12. So if Gavin Lux can start playing the offense that I know he's capable of playing, that would help at the bottom of the lineup. Then maybe you could wait on Jason Hayward to get back in the groove and hit his 250, 260 and hit, 7, 8, 9, 10 bombs, something like that. That would be fine too. And then you can wait around on Chris Taylor and insert Kike here or there. And then also you're going to, Max Muncy's going to help lengthen this lineup as well. So it doesn't have to be a trade piece, but I think today, as we look over Memorial Day weekend, I do think that's at least something. I may have overstated a little bit to say the Dodgers are on a crash course for that, but I do think you at least need to start putting that thought in the back of your head if you're the Dodgers fans of, hey, what guys do you think are realistic for the Dodgers that you think would fit in on this club that could come into this pressure cooker and immediately hit the ground running and perform? Because, hey, man, you go get somebody from a team that's in last place, that's playing in front of 10,000 people. There's no guarantee they're going to be able to come into this pressure cooker and handle what the environments are going to be like with the Dodgers. So there's way more variables than just to say, well, this guy's hitting 326. This guy has 17 RBIs. Let's go get that guy. There's several other factors other than that the Dodgers are going to have to put into equation. Yeah, Johnny says he's not happy about the bullpen last night. Again, I would say the bullpen overall has been, well, there's been periods to where it's been the best bullpen in the game, right? Of course, you can take any stretch of the season and create a narrative for any short sample size, but I'm putting the bullpen, you can disagree with me if you want, that's great. I'm putting the bullpen in the category of it's one game, it's a 162 game season. That's all it is. Not going to make any bigger deal out of it. That's my opinion on the bullpen. Hey, Sammy Boy Smith, thank you so much for joining Daniel Berry Sports Highlight on short notice and on Memorial Day weekend in the middle of a Saturday afternoon. We already have a wonderful crowd logging in to Dodgers Daily. That's how awesome you guys are. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight says, let's win today. Hey, Killa no Noez. But surprised we didn't see Trinan yesterday. Yeah, again, it's the 162 thing. Dodgers have mapped out certain amounts of innings. They also have mapped out the frequency of which they want guys to pitch. And they are willing to lose a couple of battles, which are individual games in 162, to make sure that their map stays intact. The Dodgers are one of the most disciplined teams I have ever seen in putting a plan together and executing the plan, even in the face of short-term failure. They are the most disciplined team I've ever seen. Organization of any, doesn't even have to be sports, that I've ever seen. They're incredible at doing that. So, yeah, no doubt, Johnny, walks definitely lead to losses. So do hitting, hitting batters with pitches. I'll say this, okay, and this is my prospect, my prospect coverage coming out of me. That's fine, whatever, okay? When you go get Yohan Ramirez and then Doc saying, well, I don't know what he can do here. I don't know what he can do there. I'm still trying to find out this and that. Okay, well, you got a whole bunch of guys in your farm that there's probably 25 people that could tell you exactly what you're going to get. Now, can they tell you what you're going to get on a major league level? Okay, with Ricky Vanasco, they could. All right, with Gus Varland, they could. With Landon Knack, they could. Right? So if you're going to bypass all these guys, JP Fireisen, who had been pitching absolutely lights out, if you're going to go get a Yohan Ramirez and you're just going to plug them in, okay, so you say, well, they did that with Ryan Brazier. They did that with all these other guys, right? Okay, fine. They really didn't. Here's what they did with Ryan Brazier and a guy, Andre Lipsius, that I sent out the interview yesterday and posted it. If you haven't seen the Andre Lipsius interview, he does a wonderful job. Check that out. It's posted on my YouTube. They really didn't. What they actually did with Ryan Brazier is they sent him to Arizona. They gave him another pitch, and then after he had mastered that other pitch and all of the eyes in Arizona, if you ever listen to the Andre Lipsius interview, what he says is all of the help they have in Arizona, the people in Arizona, they have incredible instruction in Arizona. So what they actually did with a guy like Ryan Brazier is that they sent him to Arizona. They fixed him in Arizona from mechanics and a pitch mix perspective before they ever sent him to L.A. What they did with Yohan Ramirez is they signed him and they threw him in the lineup and they bypassed Landon Knack. They bypassed JP Fireisen. They bypassed Gus Varland. They bypassed Ricky Vanasco. They bypassed Jesse Hahn. They bypassed Michael Peterson, who hit 100 miles an hour earlier this year, who's allowed runs at only two outings this year, who, by the way, just like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, coming into this season, Michael Peterson has World Baseball Classic experience. So, you've seen him against major league hitters. You have evidence of him against major league hitters. So you bypass all those guys. And I said it when they did it. They don't have any more evidence that Yohan Ramirez will be better in a Dodgers uniform against major league hitters than anybody you have in your system that you've had eyes on for all this time. So if you're going to do that and you're going to bypass all these guys, don't get on the air and tell me, well, we're experimenting this, we're experimenting that. Well, we don't know what we have here. I mean, come on, man. That's frustrating to see these guys get bypassed. And then and I love Dave, you know that, but I got to watch Dave go up there and defend it like, I don't know what this guy can do. Well, no kidding, you don't know it. That's exactly what we said whenever you first did that. So here's the answer to that. Don't bypass all these guys for Yohan Ramirez. Use the guys that you have eyes on. Then whenever something goes wrong, whenever you're in the middle of a major league game, you have all of this anecdotal evidence from the greatest instructors in the world in the Dodgers system to say, well, at the very least, this is what this guy does well. This is what we're going to do with him. That frustrates me. That whole situation, and to an extent, Eliezer Hernandez, because he has major league service time, he comes into the system and now he jumps and bypasses. And I don't know Eliezer. He did a great job with Oklahoma City, but at least he had time. At least he had time at the AAA level to work with Jamie Wright and all the pitching coaches in Oklahoma City to get with so that the Dodgers have eyes on him. They know what he at least offers and can bring to the table. So that's, the Eliezer deal, whatever. But the Yohan deal, man, that frustrates me that I got to see it. I mentioned it whenever they did it to begin with. It came true, and then I got to hear at the end of it, well, we're just getting comfortable. Well, we're just trying to figure out. It's the major leagues, man. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's 1 out of 162, but what are we doing? You got all these other guys that you do know all this stuff about. That frustrated me. I went on a little bit of a tangent there. That's fine. But I get to, hey, I got to see all the video. I got to go to the game, shoot all the video of them, get to talk to them. And so, that's just perspective that I come at from, just seeing what happened last night. So things you got to get fixed for the long run. Obviously, the bottom lineup, we mentioned that just a minute ago. Norm Lee, good evening, or good afternoon, I should say. The best contact bat is likely unavailable. That would be Stephen Kwan. The next best options, who could be attainable, Rengifo and Yoshida. Yep. Carlos Garcia is JP Fireeisen healthy. Matter of fact, Carlos, if you go to any of my social medias, you will see that I took video of him. He was the opener of, Saturday, the Thursday night game. I was there to watch him in Oklahoma City. He opened for Oklahoma City Thursday night. I believe he threw like an inning and a third, and he pitched well. He looked really well. So, yeah, JP Fireeisen is healthy. He is with Oklahoma City, and he is totally available and could have pitched instead of Yohan Ramirez. But it is what it is. That frustrates me. I'm not going to lie, not going to sugarcoat it. That's not to throw shade on anybody or any situation. That's just to give my honest opinion on a situation that went sideways, and we're talking about it behind a microphone on a Saturday afternoon. It's just no more than that. All these guys that make these decisions, don't get me wrong. Hey, the pro scouting department for the Dodgers, elite. When you look at Chris Owings and Chris Oakey and Andre Lipsius and all these guys, Jesse Hahn, Eliezer Hernandez, all the guys that Eduardo Salazar, who they just DFA'd, Nabil Krismad, who they DFA'd, all of the guys that they brought in from these other organizations this year that were identified by the pro scouting department of the Dodgers, I counted on the Oklahoma City roster, they have 14 guys of major league service time that weren't in the system last year, right? Well, not all of them weren't, but most of them weren't. That means that your pro scouting department went out and found several guys they thought would do well in this system that they got from other organizations, like Andre Lipsius. He got DFA'd by the Tigers in spring training. The Dodgers get him. They make a tweak to his swing. They get him to hit the ball in the air more. Now, all of a sudden, he's awesome, right? So the pro scouting department for the Dodgers is incredible, right? So to take a guy like Eliezer Hernandez, who you identified, you bring into the system, then you develop him once he's here, got no problem with that. But if you're going to go get guys, okay, I got no problems with saying, hey, my pro department, They picked out Yohan Ramirez. They like the guy. Let's go get. I love it. That's fantastic. That's what the Dodgers are great at that. But at least bring him over here, send him to Arizona, give him a week or two to figure out who he is, what he is. Maybe make a tweak, maybe add a cutter, something like that. Figure out all of that kind of stuff before you bypass all the other guys. I will move on from that, but that comment brought that back up to me. Hey, we have a wonderful, wonderful crowd logging in. Killing Noah says, I'll be content if we don't ever see Yohan pitch ever again for the Dodgers. That was brutal. The results part of it, whatever. I mean, I think you could probably predict that. It's just the fact that it's another example of the Dodgers choosing a guy only because he has Major League service time. And hey, Major League service time does matter. It's a hell of an honor. It's great. But it also shouldn't always be basically the only thing you consider. Put the best guys out there. As I know Craig always said, Roy always says, no entitlement. Whoever. And the great thing about Oklahoma City is I get to see John Rooney and Alec Gamboa and Jack Dreyer all in the same game, facing the exact same pitchers in the same ballpark, in the same elements, as I get to see J.P. Fireeisen, Jesse Hahn, Matt Gage, all in the same game. So you can say, yes, Major League service time. Well, because he's a major leaguer, yes, he's better here. Well, I see it with my own eyes against the same hitters. So all I ask is have a merit system to where, hey, who's the best guy? Who's earned it the most? Whoever has earned it the most, that's the guy who gets the opportunity, correct? Not, hey, well, this guy's earned it more than that guy, but because this guy has been in the major leagues, whether their major league experience is good or not, we're going to take the guy who's been in the major leagues. That drives me insane. And whenever it blows up like it did with Yohan Ramirez, it then drives me even more insane, if you will. Hey, walks lead to losses. Yes, no doubt. Johnny Owen. I was cursing out, yeah. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights smell a win today. Hopefully tonight, the Dodgers will play very well. Our bullpen was crushed last night. No doubt about that. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight, Bo Bichette. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I know there's been a little bit of chirping about that. That would be a pretty high price tag. I have made it very clear that price tag is something I would meet. I would do it if it was. Now, obviously, there's a limit to everything, but the price tag of to get a Bo Bichette, unless it's just way out of reach, I definitely would do that. We talked about this on the last show. Hey, Carlos Garcia, I totally agree. Andy Pages, he hurt his shoulder in May last year, I believe it was. First game in AAA, so he's got some fatigue going, and I mentioned on the last show, most of the time when you see a guy missing fastballs or just not being able to execute something they've always been good at, that indicates that either there's some kind of injury that's keeping them from doing that, that's making them overcompensate, that's making them miss that, or they're just fatigued, as Carlos is saying. So I definitely wouldn't agree. I definitely would agree that there's probably is some fatigue with Andy Pages. So I think some days off just to say, Andy, this isn't because, and he did get a hit last night, and he did have a 110-mile-an-hour single and a 97-mile-an-hour fly ball the other night. So it wouldn't be to say, hey, we think you're struggling. It would be to say, hey, we think that because you didn't play a whole lot last year, we need to get you a little bit more rest. And because of that, we think it'll help your bat speed, and it'll just help you be a little bit more fresh. And hey, at this level, you need every advantage you get. So, Carlos, I would totally agree with you about giving Andy Pages a blow, that he looks tired. Hey, Norm Lee says the team has a lineup issue more than a pitching issue. They lack 2 contact bats. The internal big league options are terrible. I would disagree with that. I would totally disagree with that. Matter of fact, Andre Lipsius, I would not say is a terrible option. Andre Lipsius is very good. They made an adjustment with him. I think he would be just fine as far as bringing up. I think he's a guy that has earned probably at some point, if there's opportunity, a chance to go up. So I think he's a good option. I think Chris Owings is starting to play some pretty good offense. We'll see. He got off to a little bit of a slow start, but Chris Owings is off to a pretty good start as well. I think Kevin Padlow is fine. I think he's not a terrible. So I don't think the internal options, I think they're far from terrible. I think if you want to say that maybe they aren't the complete answer, I think definitely you could agree with that. But I think using the terminology of terrible would be too over-exaggerated, because Andre Lipsius is far from terrible. He's got 13 home runs, OPS well over 1,000. He has major league service time. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some good options there. Again, Oklahoma City has 14 players that have major league experience. They had an exciting game last night that we are going to cover on the Down on the Farm segment. Just a reminder, when we get done talking about the Dodgers, we are going to play our Down on the Farm segment. We're going to talk all about the action last night. Kenny George. We're also going to talk some James Outman, Landon Knack, Chris Newel, Alex Freeland. We got it all covered. Bubba Alleyne. So make sure and stay tuned to that. Yeah, Yano Choi, by the way, threw really well the other night. Yano Choi, who was the 2021 Minor League Pitcher of the Year, has not pitched basically at all in the last 2 years due to injury. He is back, so it's taken him a minute to get comfortable. But how about the 7 innings that he threw the other day? He looked absolutely awesome. Losing Gratterall was huge for us. Yes, it was, Carlos, but honestly, if you look at the Dodgers bullpen, it has been good, especially if you take certain periods of time. I know the thing about a bullpen is every time that they don't come through, it's magnified because it seems like it loses the game for you. So from that aspect, it's one of those deals to where it sticks out, right? But honestly, if you go back and you're objective about it and you take away the emotions of last night, yes, I'm not disagreeing with you that losing Gratterall was a big deal, but the Dodgers have been able to overcome that and do a good job in the bullpen as part of it. Now, they like to keep those last couple of spots available for that up-down train. I call it chaos. I wish they would stop doing that. It does give more people options, but I also think, we talk about these bullpen games and how they also reduce your margin for error in every other game. So you eventually, as you create all the chaos and you bring in new guy after new guy after new guy, you're just bound to give away some games like that, like last night, with guys that just aren't ready to be in the positions that they're in. They really wasted the option on Ricky Vanasco. Yeah, they did. I'm not going to disagree with you there, Daryl. They did that with Landon Knack last year. I don't think they ever actually pulled the trigger to put him on the 26, but they did taxi him around, so he went like a couple. They did it with Gavin Stone 2 years ago, and you look, he really struggled. I mean, it was like you never knew who he was going to be. You never knew what his role was going to be. They would send Gavin Stone up. They would taxi him. And then the worst part of it is, Daryl, is that not only do you go up and you get sent back down, which sucks to begin with, you also lose time. So Ricky Vanasco is a reliever, right? Which means he only pitches 1 inning at a time. Well, he went 11 days in between outings. That's the worst part of it. Like when you look at Gavin Stone 2 years ago, what they did to him was they would cancel his start in Oklahoma City, so he didn't get his work done there, all to bring him to L.A., didn't pitch him, and then sent him back down to Oklahoma City. So then it was like 2 to 3 weeks in between starts, and then people are going, well, what's wrong with Gavin Stone? Blah, blah. You're like, well, dang. I mean, he hadn't pitched in like 2 or 3 weeks because he's been on the taxi squad. So 100%, they definitely wasted the option with Ricky Vanasco. That was an interesting deal, no doubt about that. Not afraid to go. Again, I don't mean to be throwing shade because I'm not at all. I'm just saying in this situation that was one that I can't agree with. Just because you don't agree with something doesn't mean you think somebody's not doing a great job or an elite job or that you're throwing shade. That just means that you disagree with that individual decision, right? I disagree with the decision on Yohan Ramirez. This is not hindsight. It was foresight. Just go back to our show whenever we originally got him. That was the original comment of not exactly sure the Nick Ramirez deal. I think I brought up Nick Ramirez with him. Not sure why not that the Dodgers have proof of this and that. So this isn't hindsight. This is foresight on my part. And just because I disagree with those decisions, first of all, doesn't mean I'm necessarily right, just because the results showed up a particular way last night. And it doesn't mean I'm throwing shade or saying anybody's doing a bad job. Matter of fact, I think you know that I think everybody in this organization is elite, right? It just means in these particular situations, I just think that I would have went a different way, and it didn't work out, right? Okay, so Daryl Jackson says, I'm starting to feel down on Andy Pages. I would like to see him draw more walks. And the thing about it is, he's always done that at the minor league level, as he's drawn walks and reduced his strikeouts. So it's definitely one of those situations, Daryl, to where he feels like he's having to walk his way off the island, right? Or hit his way off the island, I should say. In other words, the saying is you can't walk your way off the island. If you're going to prove yourself at the major league level, you're going to prove yourself with your hit tool by gathering hits. That's a trap that rookies fall into in an organization like the Dodgers, where you have such limited opportunity. You don't feel like drawing walks is good enough to give you staying power. So you get overly aggressive. You want to prove to everybody that you can hit your way into staying in the lineup. Next thing you know, you're swinging at the wrong pitches, and you're in the situation that Andy Pages has been in the last couple of games. I remind you, this happened to Will Smith. It happened. Hey, Mickey Mantle got sent down, right? This happens. It just is what it is. It is a tough game, and hitting the baseball is the toughest part of a very tough game. I said big league options, not minor league call-ups. No, well, what I'm trying to tell you is, Norm, is all the guys that I mentioned all have major league service time. So the internal options of guys with major league service time actually is pretty good in AAA Oklahoma City. So we're actually saying the same thing. I'm just disagreeing with you on your terminology. How far away is Cody Hosey? Cody Hosey has been having a good year this year. He, by the way, at the end of last year, he started really playing a lot better offense about the last half of last year. He's finally healthy. Cody Hosey is in AAA Oklahoma City. And as far as this year, he's hitting .272. His OPS is .752. Got off to a very fast start and has slowed down a touch towards, this last month or so. As a matter of fact, this month, he's hitting $180. He got off to a fast start, hit .352 in April, so he slowed down a little bit. So, hey, it'd be interesting to see what they did with Cody Hosey. It's been interesting to see how they've tried to just halfway reincorporate Miguel Vargas back into the major league lineup. Not really doing that young man a whole lot of favors, just kind of halfway doing it with him when he's already a guy that's pressing. That's been kind of an interesting deal to watch as well. Hey, Johnny Owen says, or Norm Lee says, I'm surprised Glasnow has gotten pushed around his last two starts with his history. I'm always concerned about his arm health. Yeah, that's a good point. And I've said many different times that Tyler Glasnow has acted like an ace this year. And even so like whenever you look at that, I mean, Tyler Glasnow with his starts, even like I think a lot of it is we expect so much out of the Dodgers. I know that Coach Barikoff mentioned this in the last show. And we also expect so much out of Tyler Glasnow. I mean, you're talking about a guy with a whip of .091, a guy with an ERA of .309. In his last 7 games, his whip is 1. His ERA is .356, and in his last 15 games, his ERA is .309. Now, I know you're talking about his last 2 games where he's given up 7 runs in 10 innings. Yeah, and in those outings, he has 14 strikeouts and 2 walks. So he's given up 10 hits. So, give the other team batting average against is 179 and 181 in the last 2 games. So when you're talking about only 2 walks and 14 strikeouts, batting average below, averaging 180 in both games, and you're giving up 10 runs in 10 innings. Actually, no, you're giving up 7 runs in 10 innings. That tells you the other team's doing a good job of being opportunistic. And sometimes in baseball, I think that just happens, that the other team gets the right hit at the right time. They dump one in here, they dump one in there. Okay, so silver linings on the year, or as far as, how do you look at this loss last night, how it applies to the future? I think silver linings is James Paxton is not necessarily a guy you have to have for the playoffs. I think if you started tomorrow, your 4 playoff starters are Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Walker Buehler, and, oh man, I'm having brain cramps right now. So your starters are Yamamoto, Glasnow, Buehler, and, Gavin Stone. So, yeah, just looking at what's moving forward for the Dodgers. The offense, Freddie Freeman, let's talk about him. Let's actually get into his conversation. And give me 1 second here as I type this in. This is a little bit awkward for me right now, I know. But, hey, I'm by myself, and sometimes that happens. So let me go back to this. Sometimes I have brain cramps when I'm by myself. So definitely I think your 4 starters would be Walker Buehler. Okay, I think your second starter would be Yoshinobu Yamamoto, or Tyler Glasnow, Walker Buehler, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And then at this point, it would probably be, Gavin Stone. If you get Clayton Kershaw back, it may be him. It may be Bobby Miller. So who knows? And then you might only need 3 starters. So I think you're fine as far as that goes. And Freddie Freeman, let's talk about him. Are you worried about Freddie Freeman? Without Rengifo, help provide the lineup what it lacks as far as contact guy who gets on base consistently. I totally agree. Would Moreno refuse to deal with Dodgers due to rival spite? That's a good question. Normally when we go on Wednesday with Austin, check back in then. We're going to have a whole show about options possible to fix the bottom of this lineup, to get a little bit more contact going with it. I love that. I love it. Dodgers fans are the absolute best. Smartest fans, period. That they're bringing up not just, hey, how do we fix this, but, hey, we need more bat-to-ball options. I love it normally. That's elite, man. That's baseball talk right there. That's simply fantastic. There's been some rumors of late about us making a strong run at Soto. No thanks. Keep Soto out of here. Sammy Boy Smith, not to be argument or anything like that. I don't want Soto. Not a fan. I think good player, yes, but just not the Dodgers style. I think there would be some subtraction by addition there. I think it'd be kind of the Manny Machado thing. Just, I don't know. He's not the type of guy I think the Dodgers need to bring in. I think there's going to be better options for them. So, I don't know. And also, I think he's going to be very expensive. So, I would be a no on that. So, who do you think, if the Dodgers had 4 starters to start the playoffs tomorrow, write in the comments, who would your 4 starters be? I think we all would agree at this point on Glasnow and Yamamoto. Who would your 3rd and 4th starters be at this moment? It's going to be, Soto's defense sucks too. I'm just out on him. I don't know. That could be me. That could be my old man get off my lawn type of deal. I'm just not big on that. 3 lefties in the top 4 is not the move. Yeah, G-Rob, good afternoon. What a wonderful crowd we have logging in to Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. So, Freddie Freeman, let's get real, Dodgers fans. Let's talk about it. Let's have a tough conversation, okay? 34 years old. He is elite. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame hitter. He's one of my favorite hitters, both in results and structure. Matter of fact, every time I do something about hitting, he's always my clinic. He's always the guy I use for that clinic. Yeah, Bobby Miller, Freeman would have to move to the 5 hole, says Sammy Boy Smith. Yeah. So 34 years old. As Jay mentioned in our comments the other day, there is a very good chance that he actually is slowing down. It happens. If you listen to my interview with Jack Murphy, pro scout, he's a scout on the pro side for the Dodgers, he mentioned either talent gets to you, which that's obviously not the case with Freddie Freeman because he's a Hall of Famer, or father time gets to you, right? No player gets out of it. So is father time catching up with 34-year-old Freddie Freeman? Guys, let's have a tough conversation. It could be. It's going to happen at some point. Is that point right now? Now, let's not overreact. I only say that to say, okay, let's say Freddie Freeman does slow down a little bit. He's not like a 340 hitter that has an OPS over 900 and gives you Hall of Fame statistics for that individual season. Okay, let's say he does slow down, and let's say he does slow down a little bit, and he doesn't give you that. So he's still to the point to where he's almost hitting 300. He's still to the point to where he's still one of the best hitters in the game. So even if Freddie Freeman does slow down, I'm not worried about that at all. That's a situation to where I think even a slowed down Freddie Freeman to an extent, as Jay mentioned on the comments the other day, he's still not going to have a contract, even if he does slow down, that is going to be a something that is of negative consequence to the Dodgers, because even a slowed down Freddie Freeman is going to be good enough to be a very, very, very good offensive player. So am I worried that Freddie Freeman is slowing down? Yes. He's 34. It happens to everybody. But am I worried that that slowing down is going to affect the Dodgers and his game to an extent to where it becomes in any way, shape, or form unproductive? The answer to that is an unequivocally, absolutely not. So, yes, worried that Freeman may be slowing down, not worried that it's going to have that many adverse effect on the Dodgers or him, and he's still going to be an extremely, extremely, extremely good offensive player. Having said that, this might just be for him, not for normal hitters, just a normal patch for him, right? And he might snap right back out of it and go back to being the Hall of Fame type results hitter for the remainder of this year. At any time, that could happen too. I want to definitely address that. Doc needs to give Freeman some days off to rest. He can't play 160 games a year like he has been. Great point, Brett Rose. I say all the time that Dodgers Dawgs, as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, has the best baseball crowd out there. It is real baseball talk, Brett Rose. That is an absolutely awesome comment. Gregory, if we're going to keep Lux and Taylor on the team, you have to keep Freeman on the team. Yeah, we're definitely not talking about any kind of, I'm just talking about Freeman. Hey, maybe Dodgers fans need to realize he is 34. Maybe he's not. You're not going to get Hall of Fame results all the time from him moving forward like he has in the past. Hey, Fred didn't lose a step and a half in the last 5 months. LOL, says Sammy Boy Smith. Okay, normally says third and fourth starters are difficult to project based on who gets injured or arm fatigue by October. Yes, my premise is if it started tomorrow, who would your fourth starters be? Now, keep in mind, if the Dodgers don't trust their fourth starter or they're hesitant, they could also go with probably a three-man rotation too, the way that they do all the TV in the playoffs. Johnny Owen says, Soto is destined to be a 25-year-old DH. No thanks. Yeah, and a guy, just a little bit too much diva to me. The look at me stuff. I enjoy showmanship. Like Taylor Young, he's so exciting. I love all that stuff. I really am not a get off my lawn guy when it comes to like celebrations after a touchdown and like whenever they show the smoking gun after shooting a third. I enjoy all that stuff. I enjoy the showmanship, so I'm not a get off my lawn type of guy when it comes to that. But I will say the look at me stuff, it doesn't help you. And here's why I say that, because all it really does is piss your opponent off. And you're talking about the greatest players in the world, right? And now the greatest players in the world just put a target on your back that you didn't need to have. You just gave the greatest players in the world extra incentive to want to kick your ass. So I don't mind it I think it's entertaining, okay, especially like when it's two teams that I don't care who wins. But when it's my team doing it, it makes me think, damn, it's going to be a lot harder to get a hit now, because all those pitchers that watched you just run around the bases and say, look at me, you just gave them added fuel to their fire to go kick your ass next time they favor you, or face you, I should say. So from that aspect, I don't like it. I just, the Dodgers already have a big enough target on their back. I just don't think any of that really actually helps. And I think in a lot of scenarios, I think so. For me to watch that on my team over and over and over and over, then to have to watch Gavin Lux hit after that, that would, as a baseball purist, I think that would probably frustrate me as games went on. Soto and Judge are always looking into the camera, always. I agree. I don't know about Judge, but I do think that about Juan Soto. And I just think listen, hitting 100-mile-an-hour fastballs that are moving 22 inches and you have a tenth of a second to make a reaction and an eighth of an inch is the difference between a pop-up and a home run, you need all the help you can get. You need every advantage and every margin to go on your side, right? So adding margins and advantages and extra incentive to the greatest pitchers in the world isn't of help to you. So as Sammy Boy Smith is saying, every time you look in the camera, you are making things harder on yourself. Every time you pound your chest, you're making things harder on yourself and likely your teammates as well. Yeah, Soto's shuffle is annoying. I agree, Carlos. Johnny Owen Juan Soto is unbelievably annoying. I'm on that. Manny Machado if you go back to all of my social media when the Dodgers got Manny Machado, from the second they got him, I was not on board at all with any of it. And it wasn't because, hey, he's a great player, man. He's an absolutely great player. I'm not saying that. I just didn't think the way that he operates would be a good fit for the way the Dodgers operate, and come to find out that was the case. Okay, Jay, man. Good afternoon, Jay. We've been talking about some of your comments about Freddie Freeman slowing down a little bit. I just thought those are fantastic. I thought I'd bring those up on the air. So the Dodgers pitching it shuffles so much. If I have brain cramps on the air and I struggle to come up with names, and from time to time, please give me a little bit of slack on that, because there's just so many transactions and names that go through my head that sometimes I have to play it back through, and especially when I'm by myself. So, hey, Jay says playoff rotation today. Glasnow, Yamamoto, Buehler, and Stone. I would agree, and it would be interesting to see if Glasnow, let's say that the TV schedule, it really stretches it out, and by the time it's Stone's turn to pitch, if then Glasnow was available because he had 6 days off or whatever, thanks to TV, would they bypass Stone and go straight back to Glasnow to make a 3-man rotation? I think that's very possible. I think it's all going to be determined on how that series is going, right? Hey, Jay says, what does Gavin Stone have to show to be in a strong consideration for the playoffs? I don't think it's what he has to show. I think if there are veterans in front of him that are available, so here's what's going to happen. Obviously, Glasnow, Yamamoto are going to be in the rotation. If Buehler keeps pitching the way I think he will, he's going to be in the rotation. Then if Clayton Kershaw is anywhere tied with Gavin Stone or maybe a little bit below Gavin Stone, he's going to get the nod. So for Gavin Stone, I don't think what he's going to do is going to get him in the rotation. I think he still, no matter how well he does, I still think he's going to have to rely on other veterans around him not doing as well. And nobody wants that, correct? So it's a difficult situation for Gavin Stone, especially considering that Bobby Miller is going to come back, right? And so if you're Gavin Stone, that's just being really honest with the situation he's in. The way that I see it, all you can do is control what you can control. So if you're Gavin Stone or Landon Knack pitching for AAA Oklahoma City, or JP Fireisen, who opened the game Thursday, or Ricky Vanasco, who threw the 3 outs, I should say, not the last 3 outs. All you can do is do the best whenever you go out there and try not to think of it in terms of, I got to do this to be in the playoff, the rotation, this deal or that deal. Just go out and pitch your best each outing and let the chips fall where they may. So I don't think there's any way, to answer your question directly, I don't think there's anything Gavin Stone can do. I think it's up to what the veterans do. And, hey, if the veterans go out there and kill it and they end up being the 4 starters and it ends up being Yamamoto, Glasnow, Buehler, and Kershaw, and they're on top of their game and Gavin Stone gets left out of that rotation, that means the Dodgers win a World Series, and that's all that matters at that point, correct? Okay, I'd switch Smith and Freeman, extends the lineup a little bit more. I think, I've said this, I think Will Smith needs to be in between Max and Tio, because I think Will Smith, the way that he has bat-to-ball contact skills, plus I think when Max Muncy comes up after the Murderer's Row, I think that's going to get him some more home run pitches to hit. And then I think Will Smith in between Tio and Max will be able to still play the same type of offense he is and maybe counteract some of the strikeout numbers that Max and Tio put up. But, hey, you know, it is what it is. It's a lot of fun to talk around the cooler as far as all of those, you know, lineup decisions. Hey, Johnny Owen, I'm sorry, I don't mean to hate, but I absolutely hate Manny Machado. Yeah, I don't hate Manny Machado. I'm not a big fan of his style, and I just didn't think his style would match the Dodgers culture. It may be me, this is Norm, but I would put Miller in the bullpen this season. He looks like he struggles mentally in tough innings to avoid a crooked number. I've never seen Bobby Miller in the bullpen, so I don't know. I don't have any evidence. That would be an argument against that, Norm. I have seen Gavin Stone in every different role. I do know Gavin Stone was a closer in college, and he was also a Friday night starter. So I know Gavin Stone, at least with past history, has more experience with being a Swiss Army knife than Bobby Miller has. I would wonder, see, here's the deal. When you're a starter, you go out, and this is why I like to take that video whenever I go and cover guys, is that you go out and you do your running, you play your long toss, you do your stretching, you do your band work, you do your heavy ball work, you throw your bullpen, and then you go pitch. And it's all clocked out by the second, right? I mean, Clayton Kershaw is down to the second. So when you throw a guy into a bullpen, now that entire routine is thrown off, okay? And so I haven't seen how Bobby Miller reacts to having that entire routine thrown off. The only time I've ever seen Bobby Miller pitch is when he's had that entire routine. I have seen Gavin Stone have to bypass that routine more than once. He had to do it in college and still have success. So from just what I've seen with my own eyes, I would trust Miller starting Stone in relief more than I would Stone starting Miller in relief, just because that's what I have seen. Sammy Boy Smith, these retreaded bullpen guys, we obviously don't want to waste our options on Varland, JP, Vanasco, etc. I'm on that bandwagon. Hey, the Dodgers Pro Scout side is elite, no doubt about it. But I'm going to say it again, I said it earlier. With a Ryan Brazier, they didn't just go get the guy and immediately plug him in like they did Yohan Ramirez. They went and got him. They sent him to Arizona. They worked with the incredible instructors at Arizona. They gave him a new pitch. And then when they felt comfortable with everything they saw with Ryan Brazier, then they sent him to L.A. So if you're going to do that with, as the terminology here is the retread type situation, meaning the major league veterans, if you're going to do that, at least send them to Arizona first and reinvent them first, right? That's all I'm asking as far as that goes. Yeah. But, hey, we have a great crowd, and I want to thank everybody for logging in. And it is 1:23 on the it is 1:23 on in Pacific time at this point. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to click over to our Down on the Farm segment. Just a reminder, we have Kenny George, we have James Outman, Landon Knack, Alex Freeland, Chris Newell, Bubba Alleyne, some wild action. Matter of fact, the automatic balls and strike system was not working in Oklahoma City yesterday at the beginning of the game, so they could not use it. It came up like in the third or fourth inning, so all the announcers had it. The dugouts had access to the automated strike zone, but the umpire didn't because you couldn't just insert it in the middle of the game. So, I mean, it was crazy, man. You had coaches getting thrown out. You had fans getting upset. It was a wild and crazy game. So, hey, there's a lot of great action to cover down on the farm. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's take a trip down on the farm. Going to start our down on the farm segment in Rancho at the single A level, as we always do. And going to show you Kenny George. Of course, the action as of late with Rancho hasn't been just unbelievably, just off the charts where something sticks out and you go, hey, I got to put that down on the farm. So wanted to talk about Kenny George again. I know I've talked a lot about him this year, and like I've said a couple of times, that's okay because he absolutely has deserved that. Of all the active members, now Jake Geloff hit 310 while he was with Rancho, but of the guys that are on the Rancho roster right now, Kenny George has the second highest average at 269. He also has the second highest on base percentage at 377, and he has stolen the most amount of bases on the team with 12. So Kenny George, he is a guy that I know Dodgers fans are super excited about. One thing I really, really do like that goes maybe unsaid about Kendall George is that, yes, we know about the ridiculous speed. We know about all the exciting tools that he has. But I'm telling you right now, this is a kid that is confident, but he also is super humble. And he presents himself with a humbleness and just that type of presence, but also with confidence. And then he's just a super, super polite and pleasant person to be around. That is the exact kind of Dodger player that the Dodgers love to cultivate through their system. They go find them with guys like Andre Lipsius, who I talked to yesterday, with their pro scouting department. Their amateur scouting department just finds guys that have that type of mentality. So equally as impressive as his speed, in my opinion. Of course, I have had a chance to interview Kenny George, but just watching him even more than that, equally as impressive to me is his demeanor, his humbleness, his just pleasantness to be around, and his infectious, just positive energy that will feed into his teammates, especially if he ever gets into a leadership type of role. So wanted to bring up Kenny George again, show you that bunt base hit and that tremendous speed. Another guy that I don't think that we've talked enough about, kind of in the Kelvin Ramirez as far as with Great Lakes model in terms of, hey, he's just been unbelievably good. But we at Dodgers Daily kind of have dropped the ball on him and not talking about him enough. That is Jose Rodriguez, a tall and long drink of water. You see that unique windup where the hitter just loses the ball and everything else. Has the absolutely huge slider right there to both lefties. He's able to get that slider to go underneath the barrels of left-handers, and then also he tunnels that fastball off the slider as well. Then you see the changeup there. So, anytime you want to kind of get somebody out that has the opposite hand to you. So, like if you're a right-handed pitcher throwing to a left-handed hitter, you got to have something right there that's moving away from them. You've seen the slider that turns to the right. That's a big pitch for him because he always, you saw the changeup, I should say. That's going to be a big pitch for him because he has that nice slider that's going to turn left into lefties. So now do you have anything that turns right that will go away from the barrel? He has both of those. He has big stuff. And this is a guy that has big swing and miss potential. As a matter of fact, he's at the top of all the minor leagues and swinging strike percentage, which means the amount of pitches thrown to home plate. There's that right turn that I was talking about just a second ago. How many swings and misses do you get? He gets as many as anybody else in the minor leagues, at least he has so far in 2024. So Jose Rodriguez, wanted to go back and cover him again because I don't feel like we've emphasized and covered him enough. And, of course, when you have Ronaldo Yin, who's hit 104, you have Edgardo Enriquez, who's absolutely electric. That's kind of to be justified because they take a lot of the attention away. But, hey, don't lose focus of Jose Rodriguez. The dude has been really, really good for Rancho. Chris Newel hit home run number 13, and it went oppo, as you're seeing right here. And the thing about him, this is back-to-back days where he has tied the game up with a home run, and it was in the late innings. Now, he went 1 for 5 in this game and had 3 strikeouts. And normally, I think you know me well enough to know that I just don't really cover a lot of the failure and or negativity that happens. These guys already get enough negative feedback in the game where they don't need any more when it comes to as far as their coverage. So I usually don't do that, but I bring up the strikeouts only to say, he leads the Midwest League in home runs with 13. He has 3 more home runs than the next guy in second place. I can't remember the name who actually it is, but the next guy only has 10. Then also he's like top 7. I think he's like top 5 in strikeouts and then top 7 in walks. So if you read the comments on Dodgers Daily, which are always fantastic, you would have read the other day from Jay, who left a really nice summary of Chris Newell about how he is the model of the 3 true outcome guy, a guy that hits home runs, a guy that walks, and a guy that strikes out. So, hey, if you want to know what a 3 true outcome guy truly looks like at the minor league level, this is your guy, Chris Newell. I don't say that in a negative vein at all. I say that actually in a positive vein because, as Austin Brubaker's mentioned a couple times, although his batting average is like 213 and he does strike out quite a bit, his WRC plus numbers are very, very good, which means even if he has a low average and even if he does strike out quite a bit, the underlying metrics are going to tell you that Chris Newell, kind of like a Max Muncy type guy, is going to be a very productive offensive player, even at the floor of it. So I say that, and then I would also say, that being the case, if he could raise his average up to, say, 250 and then stay around a 25% strikeout rate, now you're talking about a guy that has like all-star type ability at the major league level as far as the production goes, like we've seen with the Max Muncy. So the floor is very good with the talent. Also, he steals a lot of bases. The floor is very good in terms of the damage that he's going to do as a 3 true outcome guy. So just kind of wanted to hit on all those points to give you the full picture of Chris Newell, who is absolutely doing damage in 2024. Here's a guy out of Sacred Heart, and by the way, he's going to be one of my favorites already because, A, first of all, he's a good player, and he's very scrappy, very smart, just kind of does all the right things in the game right there. Hit the ball up the middle, sell out, do cartwheels, whatever you have to do to put the ball in play and just try to gather base hits, right? I love those kind of players to begin with. But 2, he owns a pit bull. So, hey, if you're a pit bull owner, you are a friend of mine. I love pit bulls. You hear them probably every night on our live shows. You hear the Dodgers dogs in the background. Just know that's two pit bulls having a hell of a good time listening to Dodgers dogs. But, hey, Sam Angeli is a guy out of Sacred Heart who had 3 hits last night, starting to heat up. It's been a bit of a slow start for him, but I wanted to highlight Sam Angeli because, hey, when you're talking about a guy that is coming from a place like Sacred Heart, he's learned how to have a short swing, as you're seeing here. He lets the ball get deep. And so because of that, the strikeout to walk ratio should be pretty good. Matter of fact, his strikeouts and walks are fairly similar this year. So although the average doesn't look good, the top end ceiling doesn't look as high as you would think it might for guys in the minor leagues at this point. I say the strikeout to walk ratio to bring up the aspect of a lot of times, especially with teams that believe in analytics like the Dodgers do, they look at floor as much or more than they do ceiling. So when your strikeout to walk ratio is similar, what that does is it raises your floor. So they say, well, hey, even if this guy doesn't hit for a high average, he's still going to get on base quite a bit because the ball's going to be in play and he's going to walk and swing at the right pitches. So at the very least, that's the type of player you're going to get. That's the floor. So at this point now, Sam Angeli, you see, he's a really good athlete. He's long and tall and has, a lot of tools for a taller, good athlete type of guy. So he has a great frame. He's taller, and he's got all of those things going for him. Good athlete. Played shortstop at Sacred Heart. And so now it's going to be about, for Sam Angeli, making the transition to minor league baseball like he's doing and using the minor league process to figure out what his ceiling can become, which who knows how high that can get. We have not even started to scratch the surface to see what the ceiling could become for a Sam Mongelli type of player. We see these guys all the time that come out of these situations. They figure out the minor league thing right about at his stage of his career at the high A level. Then the next thing you know, you go, dang, man, look at that guy. He's pretty darn good, right? So, hey, we will see how Sam Mongelli keeps going as far as building his ceiling up. But so far, he's building a really nice floor as far as showing his strikeout and walk ratio to be fairly similar. So I wanted to highlight Sam Mongelli. So this is Jackson Ferris, a really, really good start yesterday. He went 5 innings exactly, did not give up a run until the 5th inning. And, you know, when you look at his outing, I believe that was the 3rd time this year he's gone about 5 innings. So he stretched it out. He got up to 87 pitches, which is just 13 shy of 100, which is up there. Hey, that's a nice play by Chris Newel right there, right? Just talked about Chris Newel just a minute ago. There is some of that athletic ability to go with all the power. So, hey, this was a win for Jackson Ferris all across the board. And I'm sure he's disappointed that he gave up. I believe he gave up a single and a double and a couple of runs in the 5th inning, but 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, and 2 walks. So very, very, very good outing for Jackson Ferris. I talk about it all the time. In the minor leagues, you're looking more for signs and symbols of progress. We talked about it just a minute ago with Sam Mongelli. As far as, hey, how high can the ceiling get for somebody? So you're always looking at signs at how a player is raising their ceiling. I think yesterday, Jackson Ferris showed a lot of those signs with the 5 innings pitched. He started to look very comfortable. He came out of the gates very fast. His 1st inning, if you go back to the broadcast and you listen to Brad Tunney and John Vicari, they both mentioned that, hey, this was the best that Jackson Ferris looked in the 1st inning coming out of the gates. So there was a lot to like about Jackson Ferris yesterday. A total win across the board for him, in my opinion. Okay, guys and gals, and wherever you may be, I told you a long time ago, buy stock in Wrobo. Justin Wrobleski hit 99 last night. 99. Hey, that's Mike Antico, by the way. He went to the University of Texas and was teammates with Dylan Campbell, who is on the Highlight Great Lakes Loons team. And so that's kind of Antico again there. And when he was with Texas, I'm not sure I ever saw him make an out. That dude was a really good player. So, hey, it was fun to see Justin Wrobleski face Antico again. Wrobleski at Oklahoma State and Antico, Texas, both in the Big 12 conference. But, hey, again, that fastball you're seeing right there got up to 99, and it was consistently 97 miles an hour. Plus, you saw the slider right there that had good sweep to it. When you have to gear up for 99, you pull off that fastball right there. I mean, just absolutely blowing hitters away at the top of the zone. Then he dotted it out in the outer half, and then he threw that sweeping slider that on a couple of occasions, that slider right there that had a lot of sideways movement, on a couple of occasions, he added depth to it. Boy, look at that fastball. Then down there in the bottom of the zone on the outside corner. So the fastball blowing hitters away at the top to the bottom outside corner to lefties. And then you had the sweeping slider right there. He's also hitting the outside corner to right-handers, who's only able to hit a fly ball to right field. And then also depth on his slider every now and then to get underneath barrels. So, hey, this was Justin Wrobleski's had a lot of impressive outings. That one right there that I have seen him have in many different times. And you know that I really like Wrobo. I've been telling you about him ever since the Dodgers drafted him, even going back to times to where people were like, well, who's this guy? But I'm telling you, man, buy stock in this guy. He is one of the most rigid human beings in terms of his off-the-season regiment as far as, hey, my off days, what am I supposed to do workout-wise? What type of nutrition am I supposed to put in my body? And then all the research and game planning that he puts into figuring out how he's going to attack each hitter. He knows his game plan backwards and forwards. He basically puts it together by himself. And so you guys know as well as I do, if you internalize something, if it's something that you believe in and you've invested heavily in, you know, it's kind of like whenever, you know, whenever you buy something fairly expensive with your own money that you worked for as a kid, you take care of it a little bit better, right? So the fact that Justin Wrobleski is so invested in his own game plans that gives him just that little extra edge to go out and execute those game plans. Because, like, if you put these game plans together and you go out there and you're terrible, right? Well, then your organization, your hitting coach is going to go, well, you know what? Hey, we love you, Wrobo, but we're going to start putting the game plans together for you and telling you what pitches to throw, right? Well, so he takes ownership of that, and he wants to have that type of freedom. So he goes out and he executes and did just a great job last night. 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. So big time outing, Justin Wrobleski. You're looking at Alex Freeland. Man, this dude has been raking all year long. Young man out of the University of Central Florida. Hey, we won't hold that against him. UCF has beaten OSU in every single sport. Doesn't matter what it is. Man, it's like the Bermuda Triangle for OSU this year since they've come into the Big 12. So we won't hold it against Alex Freeland that he is from UCF. But, hey, look at that speed. I say that to say we know the dude can hit home runs. We know he can hit, period. He's hitting .338 this year. His OPS is 1071. But a really underrated aspect of Alex Freeland's game is how well he runs. You just saw it a minute ago. How about this? 11 stolen bases on the year for Freeland. He stole 31 bags last year. So he's a big-time stolen base threat. He has big-time power potential. We see that he can hit well over 300 at a very high level, 338 so far, and the power numbers are going to look great. And by the way, he plays shortstop. Similar to Justin Wrobleski, even last year when Alex Freeland was striking out way too much, if you watch Dodgers Daily much at all, we kept telling you, this dude has as much talent as any shortstop prospect in the game of baseball, and it's really fun seeing him put all that talent together. So you might ask, well, what's the difference between last year and this year? Well, the talent's the exact same. We've been telling you about his talent. The difference is, number one, he's healthy. You know, he wasn't always healthy last year. And number two, it's another year of experience in professional baseball to get comfortable. So, you know, nothing as far as the talent or ability or projection, in my opinion, has changed at all for Alex Freeland. It's just that he's a year older, a year more experienced, and he's healthy. So great to see Alex Freeland start to reach all of that incredible potential and play so well at the AA level for the Tulsa Drillers. Never miss out on a chance to brag on my man, Bubba Alleyne. I love Bubba Alleyne, and I tell you what, man, kind of like we were talking about with Kenny George earlier, the infectious, positive energy when I interviewed him on a Zoom call. I believe he was in Philadelphia when I was talking to him, and I'm just telling you, man, you could feel his infectious, positive energy through the internet, man. That's just how enlightening the way he plays is. And if you've seen him play at all, going all the way back to Maryland, this dude is intense. I mean, Bubba Alleyne look at those eyes right there. This is one intense dude. And he's a switch hitter, and he's a really good athlete. And so there's a lot to like about Bubba Alleyne, and he's playing really, really good. And he has his average over 300 this year, hitting 326 so far in May. Another guy like Alex Freeland, hey, last year there were long periods of struggles for him. The numbers didn't look great. And so now, hey, second full year in professional baseball, you start feeling comfortable in your own skin. Now you're starting to see the real Bubba Alleyne. So batting average for Bubba over 300 for the year. He's hitting 326 so far in May. And like I said, very, very, very talented outfield prospect. Fourth multi-hit and sixth of the month. Fourth multi-hit of the month and sixth of the year. So Bubba Alleyne. All right, so the fun stuff as we move up to the AAA level. Easily the funnest game of the night in the system. First of all, congratulations to the city of Oklahoma City. Packed Bricktown Ballpark last night. It was so super fun to see that many people in the stands. It was just a wonderful crowd, a wonderful environment. And hey, I was in the dugout on Thursday. Not a whole lot of talk about or anything, but I can tell you that when the crowds are big like that, it makes a huge difference for these guys. Everybody likes to have that big energy that was in the ballpark. I mean, I'm just telling you, look at that crowd right there. If you've ever been to Bricktown Ballpark, okay, that's the first base side, which is quite a bit less empty than the home side. The home side's completely full. It seats around 9, maybe 10,000 people if you pack everybody in there. I believe the crowd was well over 8,000 last night. So not 100% full, but still a good crowd. And I can tell you, the Bricktown Ballpark, you can ask any of the players, when they first walk in and they've never seen it, they look around and they go, wow, this is a big league ballpark with like maybe 10, 15,000 less seats. It actually, when it first came out, seated over 14,000. And you could actually add on and pretty much make it probably a 30,000 seat stadium if you went all the way around the outfield. But obviously, at a AAA level, that's not something you would ever do. As a matter of fact, they actually put tarps over the upper deck in right field to reduce the seating down to about 9 or 10,000 at this point. So the players, no doubt, they fed off it last night. Landon Knack, who you're seeing here, who has felt the energy of a major league environment. This, having a packed crowd last night, probably helped generate some energy for him, which probably made it, look at that big curveball, made it a little bit easier for him to focus in. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, and no walks. Fastball for Landon Knack was 93-94 last night. Slider change, curve, he paired with that. And so a really, really, really nice night for Landon Knack. And the way that we saw that the pitching staff last night for the Dodgers, hey, all hands on deck. Landon Knack has done a great job this year, so stay tuned. So probably the biggest story of the night was there was malfunctions. As a matter of fact, the stream, that's Hunter Fiducia catching right there, and that's actually Big Mike, Michael Peterson pitching. And, hey, there had already been an ejection of the Oklahoma City pitching coach. Both dugouts had jaw jacked back and forth. Jonathan Arauz, if you go back, I believe, to the 8th inning, got called out to end the inning on a pitch that was way, way, way high. Not my opinion, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. So to start the night, Oklahoma City was having problems with their stream, and then also the Hawkeye system, which is the in-stadium system that is used for the automatic balls and strikes. It wasn't working either. So they had to start the game without the Hawkeye system. Everything came back online in like the 3rd or 4th inning. But because the game had already started, at that point, since the game had already started, you couldn't start using the Hawkeye system in the middle of it and just insert it right in the middle of the game, right? So they had to go the entire game without the Hawkeye system and without the automatic balls and strikes. And so the announcers could see the balls and strikes on the Hawkeye system. So they knew whether the umpire was right or wrong, but the umpire couldn't use it. And so I say that to say there were many, many, many strikes last night that were called or not called that were just missed, point blank. There's just no other way to look at it. And so it got really heated, and the Oklahoma City Dodgers pitching coach got thrown out of the game. Both dugouts were jaw-jacking, and so it got a lot of fun. And then lo and behold, the Oklahoma City Dodgers did this to end the game. Jonathan Arauz, who has Major League at-bat, strikes out, but then the pitch goes to the screen, and Austin Gauthier scores, and the Oklahoma City Dodgers win on a walk-off. So you had umpire issues, you had technical difficulties, you had a packed crowd, you had a walk-off with on a strikeout against a major league hitter, and you had all of that, and it was just a normal night on Friday night in the big town in OKC. So it was a lot of fun. Here's Trey Sweeney, and he had 2 hits last night, including his, I believe, 4th home run of the season right there, right into the Miller Lite landing. I love it. Yeah, hey, Trey Sweeney, he has one of my favorite swings. Home run number 3 on the season for him, by the way. And then later you're going to see him just missed home run number 4. Again, that's the visitor side, almost full. The home side was completely packed. And so it was just a wonderful environment in AAA. I love that swing. Okay, so what I wanted to show you right here, let me go ahead and slow this down so we can get to the swing mechanics of this. And I want to show you why likely he doesn't quite get the ball in the air as much as maybe some other guys do in professional baseball. So let's go back to right here. Okay, so we're going to look at his swing. See this stretch right here? See how this knob is pointed at the catcher? What that's called is stretch, meaning you're walking your hands away from your body. So the further your hands get away this way, backwards towards your body, the longer the lever becomes with the barrel, which means you're creating momentum, which gives you, whenever that ball impacts the bat is more likely to win that impact over the baseball. So that's why hitters do that. They call it stretch and their load. Okay, so from right here is what I call slot, perfectly level, and see how he's perfectly level at the back of the zone. Now, why is that significant? Most guys aren't confident enough to do that, to allow the ball to get deep. So they don't get level until their hands are up here at the front of the zone, which then shortens their window of timing. But because Trey Sweeney actually flattens the barrel at the back of the zone, now he starts turning the barrel at the back of the zone, which means his hitting zone starts all the way back here and it continues all the way to the front. It is just absolutely an ideal picturesque swing. Now, also, if you look at his body right here, picture it being a triangle, right? The 2 points at the bottom are his feet. The middle point at the top is his head. So if you look at the middle of that triangle, look at his head. That is in the absolute middle of his triangle, and it's also slotted with his back shoulder, his back hip, and his back knee. So his weight is on the back side of his body, getting ready to come through the baseball. If you are to build a swing as far as from load to contact, Trey Sweeney has the best swing that I have seen in a long time from load to contact. Now, let me slow this down, okay, and let me back this up just a touch, and let me show you where I think he probably could improve. So here's him at contact. Look at the head down. See how the barrel is at that's probably about 12 or 13 degrees, which is about, just when you're talking about a fastball that's at the top of the zone, that's about exactly what a fastball at the top of the zone drops. That's why he hit a home run here, because he matched the plane of the barrel, not the plane of his swing, but the actual plane of his bat angle matched the plane of the pitch. So from here, what I want you to see, what they teach nowadays is they teach you from here at the top of the zone. I always talk, I say it all the time, hey, you're down in the back, you're flat in the middle, you're up in front, right? Well, what I want you to do here is I want you to watch his hands. So instead of up in front, what you're going to see is actually turn his hands over this way. That's why he hits load line drives instead of fly balls. It's because instead of lifting in the front, he actually drives his top hand through the ball this way. That's a very old school way of doing it, but it's going to lead to a lot of ground balls and a lot of line drives. So here, watch his hands turn over the ball there instead of lift. Watch this. Okay, see that right there? See how his hands turned over? Let me back that up again. Watch his hands turn over there. They turn over instead of lift. That's why he doesn't get the ball in the air as much as a lot of modern day hitters. That's okay. That's fine with me. I have no issues with that. He is absolutely perfect to the contact. I would also have no issues if the Dodgers said, hey, Trey, from basically contact with the ball, through the ball, and then the finish at the front, we want to add lift to that part of your swing. I would have no problems with that either. But I'm telling you, right now, I know it's been a little bit of a slow start for Trey Sweeney. This guy can hit. Mark my words on that. Okay, here's James Outman right there. How about that? That boy James takes that low and inside pitch to left field. Now, why is that significant? Obviously, it's a hit, and whenever you're trying to get back on track, any hit is great. But this hit has a little bit extra significance. I was listening to Alex Friedman. Here's a good look at him sideways, and we'll break that down here in just a minute. But I was listening to Alex Friedman on the broadcast, and he mentioned that the hitting coach for AAA Oklahoma City, Manny Burris, was going to try to get James to hit the ball more up the middle, to stay through the ball and to the opposite field. So why do you go up the middle opposite field? We talk about that all the time. Coach Holt talks about that opposite field gap. Why is that such a big deal? Because it forces you as a hitter, see his eyes? Now look how deep that ball got. It forces you to let the ball get deep, and whenever you let that ball get deep, you're going to identify spin, and you're going to identify location better, and it's going to keep your swing short. Whenever you have a deep ball, if your swing's not short, you don't hit it, right? So it's going to shorten the swing up for James Outman. It's going to let him see the ball better. And so why is this hit significant? Because he actually executed it. See how he executed hitting the ball the other way? And let me back this up and kind of show you how deep this ball gets on him, if you will, and just kind of see just, how he executed on this hit right here. Let me show you how deep, right there. See how deep that ball got? Right about there. That's pretty deep. He's already hit the ball there. And see how the head is down? See how he's tilted back a little bit more than Trey Sweeney. That's why he needs to let the ball get deep, because if he's tilted back and he's early, that ball is going to hook into probably his first base dugout, and or he's going to swing and miss. So with that kind of lean back, he needs to let the ball get deep, do just what he did right there, serve the thing into left field, and go touch first base, young man, because you got you a base hit, James Outman. So there you have it. There is our Down on the Farm segment. I hope you enjoyed it. I really thoroughly enjoyed getting to talk about James Outman. You guys know he's one of my favorites. And the Trey Sweeney swing. Got to find a 40-man spot for Andre Lipsius. Yes, Andre Lipsius has been a fantastic offensive player. 13 home runs. OPS well over 1,000. And he plays everywhere. Hey, I listed him on the interview as an infielder, outfielder. And he's only played, I think, 13 outfield games as a professional. And I did that just to kind of, plant the seed with Dodgers fans that he is versatile enough to where if the Dodgers want to figure out a way to get his bat in the lineup. See, that's why Kike and Chris, when they're hitting, that's why one of the reasons why their versatility is so valuable is because you can figure out how to get their offense in the lineup against any matchup. You don't have to worry about which. Like with most guys, if they only play, like, say, second base, you say, well, I can't pitch in them until Gavin Lux comes up, right? Well, what if when Gavin Lux comes up, it's not a good matchup for your pinch hitter? Now you can't pinch hit him, right? You don't have that with Kike. You can literally pinch hit Kike for any player on your team. Now, obviously, you're not going to do it for Shohei, Mookie, or Freddie, or Will. But beyond that, you can say, I don't care who it's for. I can pinch hit Kike Hernandez for anybody I want, because then he can go replace them defensively wherever it's at, right? So that's the type of deal Andre Lipsius is going to give you. Austin Gothier on Thursday, the night I was there, actually got to talk to his dad, Robert, for quite a while. What a wonderful family they are. So, yeah, they're awesome. So you take a guy like Austin Gothier, Andre Lipsius, the reason why they are exciting as far as a guy to bring up to the major leagues is that you don't have to say, well, we have to wait for this position or that position. You say, to hell with it. We're bringing them up because they play offense. We'll figure out where to put them in on defense because they can play anywhere, right? So Jerry Hunter says, I hope Outman figures it out. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of his. I really, really, really hope that he figures it out. And by the way, I want to show you this right here if I can get to. Give me just a second. I think you guys will be I think this will be worth your time to watch, because this was a lot of fun to watch last night, I should say. Give me just a second. I'm by myself. So, yeah, right here. Okay. Let me turn that volume off. I apologize for the volume there. Let me stop that. Give me just a second here. And let me push stop there. And I'm going to click that over
start
right here.
Down
I want
on
you
the
to see
Farm
this right
segment
here.
in Rancho.
No, let me cut that back. Hold on. Videos right here. Okay, and then hold on one second. I think you guys need to see this. I know this is clunky, but I wanted you to see this right here. Okay, let me click this over. There we go, right here. Okay, this is where I think the Dodgers missed James Outman the most. Back to the wall, and you're going to say, okay, yeah, easy catch. No, that's not. That is not an easy catch whatsoever. That is a catch that, because James Outman is totally fearless, love the young man, by the way, he just is always so infectiously positive. I can tell you, man, I've talked to the other guys. James Outman is like one of the most awesome dudes of all time. His teammates love James Outman. They love James Outman. They are rooting for him as much as we are. I can look at Drew Avans. I mean, Drew Avans is a guy who hasn't even been in the major leagues yet. Drew Avans is a guy that James Outman replaced. Drew Avans could have been the center fielder when they brought James Outman up. And look at this interaction between the two. Okay. James Outman is a guy that Drew Avans is a stud too, by the way, as a human being. He is a guy that made that play look easy, a play that isn't easy. He made it look easy, and that's because he has no fear around the wall. And I say it all the time, he's a defensive first guy. Reggie at Sac State was a defensive stickler. He played for Coach Walsh at Sarah as a linebacker, so he has that linebacker mentality. He is a great defender. So all James Outman, hey, listen, all he has to do is figure out how to be an okay, not great, which I think he could be great, but all he has to do is be an okay offensive player, have a strikeout rate that's somewhat acceptable, and he's a way above average player because he is a great defender and a great teammate. So when you say, I hope he bounces back, he doesn't have to come back and hit like he did for the first month of his major league season last year. He just has to come back and find a little bit of consistency and just be okay. And at that point, the defense is going to be good enough. The culture part of him is going to be good enough. He's a fan favorite, and I think James Outman could become the starting center fielder again from that. Hey, Steve Stell, appreciate your work always. Keep doing a great job. They're not doing Vargas any favors. They're not playing him more. Man, what they're see, that's whenever people say, oh, James Outman will be back. He'll be. Why do you say that? Who have they ever done that with on a position player side? Miguel Vargas had all this run. He still isn't back, and he gets brought up, and now it's like, I mean, you can't tell me Miguel Vargas is comfortable in his role. So that's the one thing that worries me about Outman is that no matter what he does at a minor league level, it's not going to matter because they're always going to want to play some type of veteran in that situation. And you don't want to root for anybody to struggle. So at this point, the only way that Outman's going to get back in the lineup is if somebody struggles, and I will never root for that. So it's a difficult position to be in because I'm rooting like hell for Outman, but then I'm rooting like hell just like that for everybody else to succeed. And if everybody else succeeds, then Outman doesn't get another chance, right? That's the situation he's in. So when people say, like even Dave, it's like he said, oh, he'll be back in a couple weeks. And I'm like, no, he's not, man. And you can't say that anyways. You shouldn't say that because by you saying that, you are predicting that somebody's going to fail enough for James Outman to get back in the lineup. And as a manager, that shouldn't be your statement. I mean, you shouldn't. I understand that he's trying to show support there, but that's the type of support that everybody that watches that's going, no, wrong, that kind of deal. So I didn't really like that comment, but it is what it is. Hey, anyways, yeah, it has been a great show. We have had a wonderful crowd. I did not announce, we haven't done really a Saturday live show, and we've had a wonderful crowd today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody that has joined in today. It's been a lot of fun for me. So, hey, we are under a particularly dangerous situation here in Oklahoma for tornadoes today. Plus, I got 2 pit bulls that are ready for Daddy to get off the air and a beautiful bride that I would love to go spend some time with. So, as much as I love you, Dodgers dogs, as part of the Dodgers Daily Network out there, gonna hang up here and we're gonna get off and we're gonna enjoy the rest of our Saturday. So, hey, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, I would like to say that has been a lot of fun talking Dodgers baseball, certainly about all the prospects. And until next time, go Dodgers.